Well, Georgia and Vanderbilt are not going to play Saturday. We know that now. So, who would Georgia play if they can play? You're going to need to stick with me during this one. This is going to be a longer, more nuanced discussion about what Georgia can do to try to play Saturday in Athens. Dean Legge from Dog Post, trying to make you a smarter Georgia fan. And I spoke very briefly Monday night with Georgia's athletic director, Greg McGarity, and he told me that the university was doing all due diligence in terms of what their options were. He didn't say they were going to play. He didn't say they weren't going to play. He just said that he said they're doing all due diligence. Now, that's what Greg said, Greg McGarity. What I can say is that they're trying all they can to play any game that they can. In the SEC, the deadline to try to get a game for this weekend against an SEC foe has passed. On top of that, there was a rule. There was a stipulation put in place that you had to play people on your schedule. You couldn't just randomly schedule Texas A&M or Mississippi or LSU. But we've gotten to the end of the season here, and I think to some degree all bets are off. I do not see a scenario where Georgia plays Texas A&M. Texas A&M has too much to lose and risk by going to Georgia and possibly losing the game. And yes, I would imagine that this game would only be played in Athens. Why? Because Georgia's played 3 home games. They're wanting to play a 4th. This is basically for the seniors. So when you look at it, the notion of playing an SEC school, that would be the easiest, but I don't think that's going to happen. Secondly, what about Georgia Tech? This would be the week, you'd conclude the season typically with the Jackets. Georgia Tech canceled their game with Miami last Friday, the day after they lost to Pitt at home because of COVID. So they are out. Who were they playing? Miami. I don't know what it would be like for Georgia to play a Miami team that has not now played in a little bit, who has known that they're not going to play this weekend. I mean, did they even practice? And Miami has played 10 games, so it's not like they got to get another game in. Miami may be interested only because they would try to sneak back into the Orange Bowl, but after that beating they took from North Carolina, I don't think that they would want to come to Athens. I mean, they have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 home games. So if they played on the road, Miami, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I am skeptical that it will be Miami myself. So then you just look across the conferences that are out there, and there's not a lot of games scheduled this week. I mean, they're there, but like UAB, Middle Tennessee was supposed to be earlier this week. Excuse me, I'm looking at last week's schedule. This week's schedule, and I'm going to get to the punchline here in a second, which is that there's just not a lot of opportunity out there. You've got Thursday the 17th, Troy and UL Monroe was supposed to play. So Troy was actually a team I was going to mention as a possibility. Teams like Buffalo, Marshall, they all have games scheduled. USC obviously would not come across the country and play. So there's a slew of games that are still out there that are sort of scheduled or expected to be played. People say, well, what about Tech? What about Florida State? Florida State's playing somebody. You try to play a Pac-12 school, who's going to fly all the way across the country? Pac-12 schools, unlikely. So what you've got right now are 4 games this week have already been canceled. Georgia Vandy, Cal, Arizona, Miami, and Tech, and also Troy, Louisiana, Monroe. Say, Troy just hosted Coastal. And for Troy to play, in Athens, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I don't think it's likely, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. You look at Liberty. Liberty's 9-1. I don't know that would happen. They're an independent. BYU, they're playing a bowl game very quickly, so it probably would not be BYU. You look at the MAC. They have a championship game this weekend. It's not going to be a MAC school. So the Mountain West schools are the most likely target. And what I mean by that is, like, UNLV's played 6 games. That's it. Utah State, which is a disaster right now, has only played 6 games. Colorado State has only played 4. But there's been reporting Monday night late that Colorado State is out of the sweepstakes, okay? You've got New Mexico and Wyoming. Wyoming, I think, is another team to keep an eye on. They've only played 6 games. Air Force has only played 5, but they're playing Army this weekend, or at least they're scheduled to. Fresno's played 6. Hawaii, I just don't see any scenario where Hawaii would make it all the way across the country. Hawaii's 4-4. San Diego State is 4-4. Nevada is a 6-2 team. They've only played 8 games, but again, these games, you know, Nevada's not going to happen because they play in a bowl game in 8 days from today, Monday. They're going to play. So it's just figuring this out is hard to pull off. You know, the team to watch, I guess, would be someone like Troy, Georgia State, which has only played 9 games and could possibly play, but they're playing the day after Christmas. You know, so that would consolidate their ability to get ready for Western Kentucky. So Georgia's really in a mess here, and they're trying to do all they can. I can report to you that that is true. The complicated part here is figuring out, you know, can they coax someone into playing a game? Some of these teams have not played in a while. Some of them have just come off playing and they're not scheduled to play again. I mean, for instance, Eastern Michigan. If you've just completed your season and it's December 12th and you're done with finals, you're not scheduling practices and your kids are on the way home. So I don't know if this is going to work. And, you know, you look at what does due diligence mean? It means what I'm just talking about, except you look at the spaghetti that has been thrown on the wall and you wonder, how can I make this into a meal? And that's going to be the hardest part for Georgia. And it's going to have to happen either by the time you're watching this or soon thereafter. This is not going to drag into Wednesday. And I was going to say shameful, but this is where we're at. I mean, I'm not blaming anybody. You know, other people can call schools out or whatever the situation out. I'm not going to get in that ball game. That's for other people to say. I don't know what's going on at Vanderbilt. But I know that for Georgia, they're trying to do all they can do to get a final game for a bunch of kids, seniors, who have played for a national championship, won the SEC, won the Sugar Bowl, won the Rose Bowl, won the SEC East 3 times, beaten the Gators 3 times, beaten Auburn 4 times, beaten Georgia Tech 3 times because they couldn't play a 4th. They're trying to celebrate the legacy of Richard LeCount, Mark Webb, Nate McBride, Monty Rice, Walter Grant, Malik Herring, Julian Rochester, Devontae Wyatt, Ben Cleveland, Justin Schaefer, and others that I'm going to miss here on this list. So we can't control sometimes what happens in life. And if it doesn't work out, lesson learned. That just because you've earned something doesn't always mean you get it. And that's a valuable lesson in life. But I do hope that Georgia figures out how to get a game. I'm just saying, this is not as easy as calling Texas A&M up and saying, hey, come to Athens so you can get into the playoff. They can get to the playoff without playing another game. They don't have to come to Athens to prove their worth. Texas A&M's had a good year. If they get in, they get in. If they don't, beating Georgia, it's not going to help them jump Ohio State if Ohio State wins, because Ohio State's going to get in. And everybody knows it. And if Clemson loses, Texas A&M gets in anyway. So let's be a little less emotional about this. Look at this clinically. Georgia, it's possible they can pull this off. It's just going to be above my pay grade figuring out who it is it worth the team that they're playing against, and how can they really make it happen? I mean, the game could still get canceled later in the week. But we power on, right? We're going to keep moving forward. Georgia will definitely play in a New Year's Six Bowl if they don't play in this game. So that's something to pay close attention to. Also something to pay close attention to, these highlights of Brock Vandagriff. We're going to be adding to the playlist as we go. So if you're watching this over time, make sure you click the playlist, and we'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.